What happens when the unconscious meets the quantum? Lacan's gaps, physics uncertainties, one dialogue, one mystery.
All right, let's dive into a connection that, I know, sounds a little out there. A French psychoanalyst and quantum physics? What's the link? Well, I promise you, the answer goes way beyond the usual pop science stuff you've heard. It's actually so profound, it might just shift how you look at, well, everything. You've probably heard this one a million times, right? The whole observer effect proves consciousness creates reality. It's the classic easy link. And yeah, it's a cool thought, but honestly, it's just scratching the surface. We're going to go way, way deeper than that today. Because what if the real connection isn't some nice little metaphor? What if, and this is the big idea, what if psychoanalysis and quantum physics, two of our absolute best models for understanding reality, accidentally discovered the exact same fundamental logic? Not just a parallel, but a deep structural echo. That's the rabbit hole we're going down. So here's how we're going to build this bridge. First up, we're going to look at reality's essential leftovers, these weird paradoxical scraps that reality literally can't function without. Then we'll get into the knots that hold us, these invisible structures that are secretly keeping everything stable. And finally, we'll wrap up with the unbreakable rules of being, the absolute rock-solid laws that define what can and can't exist.
Remainders. Objected to renormalization, external internalities, extimacy to pt symmetry, triadic binding, Borromean knot to entangled triplets, stabilized cores, Sinthome to decoherence-free subspaces, prohibitions of identity, sexuation to superselection, partial openness, pas-tout to weak measurement, identity freezing, symbolic cut to Zeno effect.
All right, part one, reality's essential leftovers. Yeah, it's a strange idea to start with, but stick with me here. The core concept is that both our own minds and the entire universe are actually built around, well, leftovers. These essential little bits and pieces that don't quite fit. So in Lacan's world, this leftover has a name, object A. And no, it's not a thing you can hold. It's more like a gap. It's the difference between who you really are and what words can ever say about you. You know that feeling? That sense that there's something more to you, something you're always chasing but can never pin down? That's it. And for Lacan, that uncapturable little piece is literally the engine that drives all of our desires. Okay, now let's flip over to the physics side of things. There's this super important mathematical trick called renormalization. Basically, physicists' equations would sometimes spit out these crazy impossible infinities, so they came up with a way to cancel them out. But here's the wild part. When they get rid of the infinities, there's always this little finite chunk that's left behind, a remainder, and the theory absolutely falls apart without it. It's not junk, it's a necessary leftover. And boom, there it is, our first structural echo. You see it? In psychoanalysis, the person is built around a leftover you cannot get rid of. In quantum physics, the theory is stabilized by a leftover you must hold on to. It's the same logic. Both systems are held together by this essential, impossible little piece. Let's dig into another one of Lacan's mind-bending ideas. He called it extimacy, a mashup of external and intimacy. And the idea is this, that deep, intimate core of who you are, your desires, your values, it's not actually yours. It's external. It's borrowed from the language, the culture, the rules you grew up with. That gut feeling you have, the one that feels so intensely you, yeah, it was pretty much installed from the outside. And you guessed it, physics has a mirror for this too. There's this whole class of quantum systems called PT symmetric systems. And here's the deal with them. If you look at them in isolation, they should be totally unstable. They should just fall apart. But they achieve perfect stability. Why? Because they are constantly exchanging energy with an external environment. Their internal balance depends entirely on something outside of them. Sound familiar? So that's the big takeaway here. Whether we're talking about a person in Lacan's view or one of these quantum systems, they both find their inner stability only because of something that's fundamentally outside of them. It's this incredible shared logic. Inner stability comes from an outer source. Okay, so if our minds and the universe are both built on these weird paradoxical foundations, what the heck holds them together? What keeps them from just falling apart? Well, that brings us right to section 2, the knots that hold us. And yes, we are literally talking about knots. Lacan used this very specific, very cool mathematical object to describe the human psyche. the Borromean knot. It's got 3 rings, representing what he called the real, the symbolic, and the imaginary. But here's the mind-bending part. Look closely, and you'll see that no 2 rings are actually connected to each other. Yet, if you cut just one of them, the whole thing falls to pieces. Now, hold on to your hat, because in quantum physics, specifically quantum information theory, we find an almost identical structure. It's called a GHZ state, a system of 3 entangled particles. And get this, just like the knot, no 2 individual particles are directly entangled with each other, but all 3 together form one inseparable system. And if you mess with just one of them, the entire entangled state collapses. I mean, the parallel is just shocking, right? It's the exact same blueprint. No 2 parts are linked, but all 3 form one system. Break one, and the whole thing is gone. It's a shared logic for creating a stable, coherent structure out of 3 independent parts. It's almost like a form of error correction for reality itself. And believe it or not, it goes even deeper. Lacan talked about something called the Sinthome. Think of it as your own unique, personal way of tying the knot, a 4th element that holds your world together, your personal style or symptom that gives you stability. Now check this out. Quantum physics has a concept called a decoherence-free subspace. It's basically a little protected hideout, a safe zone where a quantum state can be shielded from outside noise so it doesn't collapse. In both cases, you have this unique, stabilizing core that protects identity. All right, time for our 3rd and final piece of the puzzle. The unbreakable rules of being. We're going down to the bedrock now. We're talking about the fundamental laws and, more importantly, the things that are structurally impossible. The things that define what a person or a particle can even be. Lacan's theory of sexuation has nothing to do with biology. It's all about pure logic. It's a set of rules that defines identity by stating which combinations are impossible. And what do you know? Quantum mechanics has something called superselection rules. These are non-negotiable laws that forbid certain quantum states from ever mixing. For example, you just can't have a superposition of a boson and a fermion. It's impossible. So the incredible insight here is that for both Lacan and physics, identity is carved out not by what something is, but by what it is structurally forbidden from being. So this all leads to this massive, fundamental question that haunts both fields. If something, a person, a particle, exists in this blurry state of pure potential, a wave of possibilities, how do you even know it's there? How can you interact with it without forcing it into one single definition, destroying all that other potential in the process? Well, the proposed answer is one of the wildest things you'll hear today. It revolves around something called the quantum Zeno effect. And this isn't theory, it's a real observed phenomenon in physics. If you observe a quantum system continuously, like you just keep looking at it, you can literally freeze it in place. It stops evolving. Now for the echo, the idea is that language, the symbolic order, does this to us. The constant measurement of being given a name, a label, a place in society, it acts like a continuous observation that freezes our fluid, infinite potential into a single, stable identity. And there you have it. That's the bridge, all laid out. When you see it all together, it's kind of undeniable, isn't it? We've got the necessary remainder, the idea of an external core, the 3-part knot, the stabilizing safe zone, the rules of impossibility, and this freezing by observation. It's the same deep structural logic showing up in 2 completely different fields of human thought. So please, the big takeaway here is not the mind is quantum. That's the old, easy metaphor we're trying to get past. The real, much more profound point is that 2 of our most powerful systems for describing reality, one for our inner world, one for the outer universe, they stumbled completely independently onto the exact same paradoxical rulebook. And that leaves us with one last, really provocative thought to chew on. What if the weird, counterintuitive logic of quantum mechanics isn't so strange and alien after all? What if it's the exact same logic that structures our own minds, our own desires, our very sense of self? Maybe reality, inside and out, is just, well, paradoxically consistent,